Hi, my name is Alexandra Carr, and for my ethnography, I chose to read White Man's Water by Erica Pressing. Before I get going on this, I do want to apologize for the poor quality of this video. I have a really old laptop, so it's going to be kind of fuzzy. Besides that, though, I really enjoyed reading this ethnography. It was really interesting, really fun to read. It was a little bit dense in some points. It talked a lot about theory, which was good, but it was a little dense, kind of hard to read. It was a lot harder to read than a lot of the stuff that we read together as a class. But all in all, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I would recommend it. So this ethnography is about Erica Pressing's fieldwork that she conducted on a northern Cheyenne reservation in southeastern Montana. It's centered around the concept of how alcohol-related health services are implemented on this reservation. So there's a lot of focus on cultural relativity. She comes back to this throughout the ethnography. And there's a lot of focus on colonization and how that helped to shape this issue as it appears today. Also, she talks a lot about gender dynamics and power relations too, and how that affects the issue moving forward. So this ethnographic fieldwork was conducted by an initial 3-year stay on the reservation back in 1994 to 97, and then a subsequent follow-up visit in 2005. She conducted most of her fieldwork through individual testimonials and interviews, and then also really intensive participant observation. I really liked how she was able to weave together all of these different perceptions of this issue by different subsets within the community. So you really get kind of a full viewpoint of how different parts of the community are reacting, have reacted, and have been shaped by this issue. So, going back to cultural relativity, she introduces this as a main point based on this issue of how alcohol-related services are implemented on the reservation. And what this consists of is one singular federally funded institution that provides alcohol abuse treatment programs, counseling on the reservation for community members. And this program is modeled after, essentially it's modeled after the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. So basically they're taking this program that was developed for a different culture, essentially, and trying to fit it into this distinct cultural landscape, which she ends up proving doesn't really work. She identifies that certain members of the community really take this up and are really connecting with this program, but others just, they can't. They feel alienated. In their own words, they feel alienated. They don't see themselves identifying with the program or with its values. And a lot of that comes from it being pretty culturally insensitive. It doesn't work in a lot of these native belief systems or spirituality. It kind of goes against a lot of these main concepts in the Cheyenne community, their values. So she focuses a lot on the historical context of this issue, which is really interesting, and it really provides a good framework for viewing this contemporary issue. So she draws on a lot of historical and ethnographic and anthropological work that has been presented before on the history of alcohol abuse and alcohol use on this reservation, how alcohol was introduced, and all of that. So yeah, it's you really get a good grasp of how this issue has come to be and how these outside forces, which are trying to help out, really aren't doing their job correctly. So she goes on to talk about how these services, so they really don't fit within the community's framework. They don't represent how the community feels about these issues as a whole. So there needs to be some changes made to these programs if they are going to be viable options for this community. But one thing she does note, which is really interesting, is how this younger generation of Cheyenne women is taking a really good hold onto this program. They're really connecting with it, and they're really making good use of it. They really identify with it. And she kind of marks that up to being associated with the history of alcohol use on this reservation and how this generation of women have grown up in households which they remark as being abusive and negligent because of alcohol abuse. And so there's this kind of different conception of how alcohol affects people's lives for this new generation, and specifically women, because within this cultural network, women are able to express themselves in a way that is suitable to work with this program, this 12-step program, in which being emotionally expressive and vulnerable is essential to what they view as recovery. And so in this culture, women are more able to do that. It's more socially acceptable, and men aren't. So basically, this ethnography kind of shows how these current services that are in place for these communities really aren't viable options for them. And they really do need to be molded and changed in order to be culturally relative and effective. So it was a really good ethnography. I really did learn a lot about it, and it was really interesting to learn about this issue, this contemporary issue that really does affect a lot of people's lives that you really wouldn't know about unless you lived on a reservation or you had family or close friends. It's something that's really, I think, imperative to understand, especially if you're working in the health service industry, to understand that these programs do need to be reflective of the communities that they're involved with.